Let's start this discussion off on Nature Boy Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan. And the reason we're going to talk about them together is we had a picture, a photograph we posted on Facebook, and it was this photograph right here. Now, Rodney, before we started the program today, you had some comments about this photograph.
Yeah, I was just noticing it was Flair and his T-shirt standing there with obviously his spit cup, and then of course Blackjack Mulligan has a picture of himself. He said, I guess he might be going to present it to somebody. Maybe somebody presented it to him. Maybe he didn't know what he looked like, so they gave him a picture of himself. And so that if he said, "Well, who is this guy?" and he said, "Well, that's you," and he said, "Well, let me take a closer look," and apparently it was, and that's him.
I noticed something about this photograph is people's not even paying attention to them during this. Jack, have you noticed this?
Yeah, but they probably waited till the matches started and they kind of slept out to see what was going on in the ring.
Ric Flair. Let's talk about his time when he in Charlotte. Ric Flair, by the time he became the Nature Boy, he was one over wrestler in the Mid-Atlantic territory. This was during the times Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. I guess at the time, Ric Flair, I believe, had to be, I'm pretty sure he wasn't a heel at this point. He had to be a babyface. I think Blackjack Mulligan was. Some great times in the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Jack?
Oh, yeah. Some of the best wrestling you'll ever see during this time period. I was able to see part of this. I lived in Savannah, Georgia for almost 2 years. And so I got to experience Mid-Atlantic wrestling. I remember seeing the first show that Tony Schiavone was on from there. So yeah, it's great stuff.
Is that one in black and white?
Well, the whole world was black and white back in those
days. I believe this was probably the time. Now, I could be wrong about this, but this looks like the time maybe when Ric Flair was having a feud with Greg Valentine. Some great matches. If you go back and look at on YouTube, there's a lot of great matches with Greg the Hammer Valentine and Ric Flair. Ric Flair stayed there. How long did he wrestle for Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling? Around 10 years?
Well, for Jimmy Crockett, since 74 was the first year, if I believe it was there from 74. So from 74 on, I think he got booked out other places, but primarily he worked for Jimmy Crockett.
Yeah, that was home.
Ric Flair, I remember when he was working for Mid-Atlantic in 1977? Was that the first time that we saw him in Atlanta?
I believe so. And we came in as the United States heavyweight champion and was going to get Thunderbolt Patterson.
He got over.
Yes.
One interview, he got over in Georgia.
And they brought in they had the women, the models they would bring in for Flair with him, and they set the stage, and of course Flair already had the robes, and looked the part, and he played the part of the United States champion perfectly, and I remember him working against Thunderbolt Patterson, and that was pretty good.
Jack, if you was to look at Ric Flair's career, what match stands out when you're talking to Ric Flair?
It's hard to pick just one, but I would say the second time that he became world's champion against Harley Race. What was the name of that pay-per-view?
Flair for the Gold?
Yeah, Flair for the Gold. It was in a cage and probably just a highlight match to me. I mean, I still go back from time to time and watch it, and I've probably seen it 50 times. It was just that good.
Rodney, if you was to look at a Ric Flair match, which match stands out?
Well, to me, it's the whole package between he and Rick Steamboat. That what made him a superstar. That what made Ricky Steamboat a superstar. To me, that stands out more than even his world title reign. Was Flair and Steamboat.
Oh, you're talking about his original feud with him, not the one he had later on in 1980. Was it 1989?
Yeah,
they had a couple of matches.
That is correct. That one I don't even remember.
Well, I've heard him and Ricky both talk about their first run back in the 70s. Neither one of them were very satisfied with it. They just didn't think they had good chemistry back then. But, you know, they were both still in that learning process and becoming who they were as wrestlers. So by the time that the 90s or the late 80s rolled around, they were firmly in grasp of who they were and comfortable with each other. And, man, they put on some dynamite matches.
Let me see if I can pull this picture up. It was actually from a program that we did in Continental Championship Wrestling. I don't know how well it's going to be because the printers didn't do a very good job on printing this program, but we're going to look at this anyway and see if it comes up and looks good. World Heavyweight Championship match with Ric Flair against the Bullet. As you see, Ric Flair has the new World Heavyweight Championship belt going against the Bullet. I noticed this is during two different matches, but look at Ron West's in that bottom picture. He looked shell-shocked during this when the top rope, which Ric Flair did, I believe, 1,000,003 times during his career, got slammed off the top rope. Let's talk a little bit about Blackjack Mulligan. Rodney, what do you remember of Blackjack Mulligan?
Blackjack Mulligan, he and Blackjack Lanza, great tag team. Bobby Heenan, the manager, that set the stage for everything. Through Indianapolis, the Midwest, the Blackjacks were a big team, and, of course, managed by Bobby Heenan. Later on, he would come to Georgia as the United States heavyweight champion by himself, Blackjack Mulligan, of course, again, facing Thunderbolt Patterson, I remember. And then later on, he becomes one of the great heroes of wrestling throughout the Carolinas and Florida. I don't remember anything he did bad, actually. He was a big, big man, impressive, able to do the interview, and he could bring it any time. But it all started with he and Blackjack Lanza and Bobby Heenan.
Yes, we've posted some pictures on Facebook of actually his first year in the wrestling business. You can go back and try to find that on our archives on Facebook. Blackjack Mulligan.
You know, I never got to see Blackjack live. I always wanted to. I always heard about him. We became friends on Facebook and talked back and forth by Messenger several times over the last few years of his life. And he became a favorite person to me. I remember talking with Bill Eadie about and asked him what was his favorite matches in that area. And he said working with Blackjack was tremendous. And he said that Boris Malenko was his manager. And he said they did, I think, 3 or 4 months through the heat of the summer. They did a lot of outdoor shows then. And he said every match was a 1-hour time limit. And he said that by the time they were done, he said, I don't know what Blackjack did. He said, but when I got out of that ring, he said, Boris Malenko had my stuff ready. All I had to do was step in the shower, get dressed, and he had a case of beer in the back of the car. He said, I needed to rehydrate. But he said, working with Blackjack Mulligan, he says, probably one of the most favorite times of his life. So that speaks highly.
And some of those matches are on YouTube. Check them out. And for me, I'm watching the crowd. The crowd are the superstar gets the Cobra hold on Blackjack Mulligan. He comes up to try to do his counter with the claw, and as he pulls that hand back, that crowd just gets louder and louder. And then he finally puts it on. That place explodes, and they had the right chemistry. They had the right. Yeah. They had the right formula in the Carolinas at the time.
Yep.
No doubt about it. This is the same time of Flair and Steamboat and Youngblood all there at the same time. It was an awesome time for them.
Well, you know, we're going to talk more about Blackjack Mulligan and Ric Flair throughout the year, throughout 2021, no doubt. They were two of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. By the way, folks who are watching Raw, I guess you watched Raw. I think Ric Flair was on there Monday night. Was that any good, Jack?
You know, I just kind of fast forwarded when I went back and watched. He went out with Charlotte And I forgot exactly what it was he did, but he caused her team, her and Asuka, to lose. And then he got browbeated by Randy Orton in the back. So all in all, it was a very disappointing show for me last night.
I just watched bits and pieces of it, but I did notice that the Nature Boy still styling and profiling on television here in 2021.